Until what? Until the husband said no. Okay. So that's basically what's going on in this paragraph. Keep it nice and simple so you understand what's going on. Okay. All right. So then we have this next paragraph here. My mistress was, as I have said, a kind and tender-hearted woman. Okay. So it sounds like initially, as we know, when she was teaching him, she was kind and tender-hearted. And in the simplicity of her soul, she commenced, when I first went to live with her, to treat me as she supposed one human being ought to treat another. So she was treating him well. Well, I mean, relative, right? Because he unfortunately was a slave. Slavery proved as injurious to her as it did to me. Okay. When I went there, she was a pious, warm, and tender-hearted woman. Okay. When they're repeating things like this, they want you to pay attention to it, right? So here they are really emphasizing that she was, she seemed like a good person at first, right? Seemed like good person at first. So again, repetition, I'm going to write here, is equal to emphasis, right? We must pay attention to this because the writer really cares about it. Okay. There was no sorrow or suffering for which she had not a tear. Um, Sorry, I was looking at the chat. Okay. We will provide the recording for you guys if you made it a little late, okay? I'm not sure exactly how quick it'll be available, but you should be getting it at least by this week. Okay. Um, where were we? There was no sorrow or suffering for which she had not a tear. She had bread for the hungry, clothes for the naked, and comfort for every mourner that came within her reach. Slavery soon proved its ability to divest her of these heavenly qualities. Okay. So as you guys, I'm sure know at this stage, when they're underlining words, they're probably going to want you to define them later. So we'll just, highlight this so that we can come back to it easily next time. Okay. Under its influence, the tender heart became stone. Okay. Under the influence of slavery, right? And the lamb-like disposition gave way to one of tiger-like fierceness. The first step in her downward course was in ceasing to instruct me. She now commenced to practice her husband's precepts. Again, we see another underlined word. Okay, so start thinking about what precepts could possibly mean. She finally became even more violent in her opposition than her husband himself. She was not satisfied with simply doing as well as he had commanded. She seemed anxious to do a bit better, or to do better. Okay, so now she's going above and beyond, right? Now she's doing even more than her husband had instructed her to. Okay. Nothing seemed to make her more angry than to see me with a newspaper. She seemed to think that here lay the danger. I have had her rush at me with a face made all up on fury and snatched from me a newspaper in a manner that fully revealed her apprehension. Okay. So again, I want you to think about the main idea of this paragraph. This paragraph is very concerned with showing the change of the mistress, right? First, she's tenderhearted, and then she has a complete change of heart, right? So first she goes to tenderhearted, and then let's see if there's a good word. Tender heart became stone, right? That's what they say. She has like a tiger-like fierceness. And now she wanted to take her husband's directions to the next level. Okay. All right. Um, Someone is saying in the chat, they bring up a good point. Sometimes it's hard to go back to the passage and remember, where you found things. And so that's why I'm trying to show you that it's sometimes good to just underline things that might pop out, right? Like definitely the words precepts and divest. Definitely this change that the author is trying to see. And so we'll tackle that a little bit more with the questions. Okay. So that second paragraph is all about the change. And now let's go to the last paragraph. Okay, from this time, I was most narrowly watched. Again, another underlined word, right? I was most narrowly watched. If I was in a separate room any considerable length of time, I was sure to be suspected of having a book and was at once called to give an account of myself. All this, however, was too late. The first step had been taken. Mistress, in teaching me the alphabet, had given me the inch, and no precaution could prevent me from taking the L. Okay, so this is another paragraph. It seems like he was watched, right? And so they were really suspicious of him, okay? But he then is saying that it was too late. He had already learned the alphabet, okay? Too late. Already learned alphabet. Okay. And you'll see here that L, E-L-L, at the end of the paragraph means here next to this arrow, an old measure of length equal to more than a yard, right? So basically, the mistress already, she already messed up based on her goal, right? He already got the ball rolling. Okay. Now starts talking about the plan, right? And we know this from the first sentence. The plan which I adopted and the one by which I was most successful was that of making friends of all the little white boys whom I met in the street. Okay. As many of these as I could, I converted into teachers. With their kindly aid, obtained at different times and in different places, I finally succeeded in learning to read. When I was sent on errands, I always took my book with me, and by doing one part of my errand quickly, I found time to get a lesson before my return. So basically, already, right? Little boys teaching him. And then it sounds like, I know we haven't finished the paragraph yet, but I just want to note these things down. It sounds like he would run his errand fast so he had time to read. These were his strategies. So he had time to read. And then, where did we leave off? Okay. I used also to carry bread with me, enough of which was always in the house, and to which I was always welcome. For I was much better off in this regard than many of the poor white children in our neighborhood. This bread I used to bestow upon the hungry little urchins, who in return would give me that more valuable bread of knowledge. Okay, so this last part here, it seems he would trade the bread for the knowledge. Okay, so let's write here, trade bread from knowledge. And it seems that even though in this passage he was a slave, he did have access to more food than the poor white children in the neighborhood. Okay. Someone's asking to go back to the first page. We will be sending out these notes. I just want to make sure we get through all 50 questions. And if there's still time at the end, I will go back and we can revisit. Okay. All right. So now we finished, right? We have the main ideas kind of each paragraph. And so let's begin with the questions. So already they're asking you to go back. Compliance in line 4 means. So whenever it's asking you to refer back to the passage, you have to flip the page and just do it. Okay, so let's go back to line 4. And someone was asking about how it was hard to find things. So here we have 5. I just circled it on the left. And line 4 is right here where my arrow is, right? Right before line 5. So it says, my mistress would kindly commence to instruct me, had, in compliance with the advice and direction of her husband, not only ceased to instruct, but had set her face against being my instructed by anyone else. Okay, so it is possible you could go back to the answer choices and substitute each one, right? But I really don't feel like going back and rewriting every single word, right? And you need to think that you have a time limit, so you have to be a little bit faster, right? So based on our context clues, right, we found out that based on our main idea on the left-hand side, sorry, it's a little loud outside. Based on the main idea on the left-hand side, the mistress was teaching until the husband said no, right? So my mistress kindly commenced to instruct me, had in compliance with the advice and direction of the husband. So she was following the advice and direction of the husband, and that's why she stopped teaching, right? So in compliance, following, we can think of obeying the instruction of the husband. So let's go back in our answer choices and see what we have. Okay. Compliance definitely does not mean speed. Praise, it doesn't seem like the husband was praising the mistress. Obedience, that sounds like the right answer, right? But we're not going to jump quite yet. Let's look at the rest of the answer choices. Maneuvering, no, right? It was in compliance with his instruction. I think that's what it said. In compliance with instruction. And not in defense either, right? No one's defending anything. So the answer would be C, obedience, right? She's obeying her husband's wishes. She's in compliance with his instruction, okay? All right, number 2. In line 8, Douglas emphasizes that his mistress was tender-hearted in order to. Okay, so let's look at, again, you have to go back to the passage. A lot of these questions, the answer is directly in the passage and it's simple, okay? So let's go back to line 8. And so again, to find line 8, we see line 10. So I just circled it on the left. And so line 8 is going to be this first sentence of this paragraph. My mistress was, as I have said, a kind and tender-hearted woman, and in the simplicity of her soul, she commenced to treat me as she supposed one human ought to treat another. Okay? So this is the start of a new paragraph. And when you need to see what the purpose of this mentioning this characteristic is, I would suggest going to see what's going on, going to the paragraph before to see what's going on, right? So the paragraph before is saying, she at first lacked the depravity indispensable to shutting me up in mental darkness. Okay, one sentence before, and I want you to look at one sentence after. Okay, in this case, it's not really that useful, right? It's basically re-emphasizing that she was so nice. But what did we talk about with this paragraph, right? He really is emphasizing this thing about how she goes from being tenderhearted to switching up after following her husband's instructions. So first she lacked the depravity. Depravity is like moral badness. First she lacked that, but then she developed it, right? And so let's go back to our choices. So let's see here. Is it to establish a tone? Okay, that's not the worst answer, right? He's trying to establish that she was so nice, but we have to think about the rest of the questions, okay? Is it to develop a contrast? I kind of like this one a little more because as we talked about in that paragraph, the author is really trying to, hone in that she's going from tenderhearted to stone, okay? And they keep on saying at first she was this, but then she was that. So developing a contrast sounds like a very nice answer. I don't think they're trying to establish a symbol, right? It's pretty literal, right? She was nice and then she was not nice. So I would take that out. Establish a setting. They're not trying to establish the setting, right? They're not saying like, oh, we're on this plantation, blah, blah, blah. No, right? They're talking about her nature. So no, not establish a setting and not developing a simile, right? A simile is when you describe something using the word like, I think, right? So it should be, I'm trying to think of a good example. She was like a coyote in the quick way she moved or something. That would be an example of a simile, right? but that's not happening here. So the answer is going to be B, okay? And this is because we're thinking of the best possible answer. So A could be an okay answer, right? But you want the most specific, the best possible answer. Douglas is emphasizing the tenderhearted because he, in that entire paragraph that follows, is trying to show the change in the mistress, okay? So we want to talk about the change in the mistress, which is a contrast. Okay, all right, next. As used in line 13, divest means, okay, again, we're gonna go back to line 13. And again, you see here on the left, line 15, so line 13 is gonna be 2 before that. So here it is. Slavery soon proved its ability to divest her of these heavenly qualities. Okay, so again, we're talking about this change, right? Good, tenderhearted to stone. Slavery does something to these heavenly qualities, right? It sounds like it does something, it's like a negative, divest is kind of like a negative thing, right? Slavery is taking away these heavenly qualities, right? Because she's changing. So the best synonym for kind of taking away, so what was our phrase? Our phrase was slavery is divesting heavenly qualities. And we said divesting is kind of like taking away those qualities, right? Taking away. So already the best answer is going to be rob, right? Slavery is robbing the mistress of her heavenly qualities. She's no longer nice. She's going tenderhearted to stone. Okay? All right. Okay, again, they want us to go back to the passage for number 14. Precepts in line 16 means, okay, let's go back to line 16. Again, we had circled line 15 at the bottom, so 16 should be the next one. Let's see. The first step in her downward course was in ceasing to instruct me. She now commenced to practice her husband's precepts. So what have we been saying, right? That suddenly she's following her husband's rules. She is practicing her husband's precepts. Have you ever heard of the phrase practicing what you preach? So precepts is going to be kind of like your values, right? Your moral values, what you go by. And so taking this with us to the answer choices, we see that she is practicing husband's precepts. Okay. So, and we talked about how that means his values. She's following his instructions. So the best answer is going to be A, principles. Okay. Perception sounds a lot like precepts, and I feel like, that might trick some people, but perceptions means like, how he perceives the world, and more like observation. So I think principles is better because he's the one who believes that slaves shouldn't be reading and writing, okay? And that's why he's instructing the mistress, right? She's changing her beliefs. Okay, all right. Number 5. Douglas partly attributes the change in his mistress to, okay, if you're unsure about this question, if you're ever unsure, I would say go back to the passage. And so we've been talking about this, right, a lot. So he doesn't think the change is due to what he reads in newspapers, right? Not what he learned from the neighborhood boys. We haven't even gotten to the neighborhood boys in this part of the passage, right? We're still talking about that change. Not her inner violence, right? It's really not her religious beliefs either, right? It's her husband's views. That's what we keep on talking about. He's the one who's telling her to switch it up. Okay. Next. As used in line 22, narrowly means, okay, again, we're going to go back to the passage. We see here 20 on the left-hand side. So 22 is 2 lines below, 1, 2. So we see here, from this time, I was most narrowly watched. Okay, if I was in a separate room any considerable length of time, I was sure to be suspected of having a book. Right, so they're very suspicious of him, like we said. And so if he's narrowly watched, they're probably watching him very closely, right? With a narrow point of view, narrow lens, only kind of looking at him. So I kind of gave you the answer, right? But it's also the one that makes the most sense. He's not being watched carelessly. If anything, he's being watched carefully, right? Because they're suspicious. It's not formal watching. That it's not like they have a camera on him. Not thinly, not superficially, right? Superficially means like just on the surface, like kind of not watching him very carefully. But again, they're like eye on him like a hawk, okay? So the answer is going to be A, closely. All right. Before we get to the next page, someone was asking how bad it is to over annotate. I'm over annotating right now because I think it's good for you guys to understand how you find the answers and what the main idea is. But once you get to the actual day of the test, I think underlining a little bit should be fine. And then just having yourself make sure to go back to the passage to find the answers. Otherwise, you won't be able to finish in time, okay? Someone is asking, how long should we spend on each text? I would say, I feel like you should aim for like, I'm thinking like maybe like 10 minutes per passage and questions. It might be a little bit longer. I think this, um, I think these questions might actually be longer than the real exam. But again, if you were at the webinar last week, it's really good, I think, to do reading, essay, and then math because math takes the longest. So the faster and at least, the faster you can do this, but, making sure you're not going too fast so you get all the right answers, the better. Okay, let me see. I'm going to answer 1 or 2 more chat questions and then we're going to move on. Yeah, I'm thinking like 10-ish, 11 minutes. Like if it's 5 passages and you should spend like an hour total maybe on the reading, maybe a little less so you can have more time for math. I would say like 10, 11 minutes. Um, let's see. Test link into the chat. Um, I cannot do that right now, but if you just Google Hunter College High School Test 2, it should be on the Hunter College High School website. Okay. All right. Let's keep going. Okay, number 7. Again, they want you to go back to the passage. Bestow upon line 34 means, okay, let's go. So this is line 35. Bestow upon here, actually, I highlighted already. This bread I used to bestow upon the hungry little urchins who in return would give me that more valuable bread of knowledge. Okay. So what is he doing, right? He's giving these white kids bread, right? He's giving it to them. And that's what hungry little urchins is referring to. So he's just giving them bread. So bestowing upon is just giving. Okay. Oops. And then if you were still unsure that it was giving, you can look to the rest of the sentence, right? Where they use the synonym for bestow, where I tried to make that little bracket, would give me that more valuable bread of knowledge. So he gives the bread, they give him the knowledge. That's a nice synonym for bestow upon. So C, right? He's giving them the bread. Okay. The best word to describe Douglas as a boy is, okay. I think this one we can just go through and think about everything we've talked about, right? So he's not controlling. There's nothing to suggest that he's controlling. We don't know that he's necessarily caring. We don't know that he's necessarily friendly. And we don't know that he's necessarily pious. Um, so honestly, the only answer really is determined, right? And why can we say that he's determined? He really wants to learn how to read and write. How to read and write. Oh, that's not how you spell right. And he devises strategies, right? He really goes above and beyond to figure this out. So he is determined. Let's see here. Someone is asking, what about caring? Because he gives bread to the hungry children. Well, is he just giving the bread to the hungry children for free? No, right? He's doing it in exchange for knowledge. So he's not really doing it out of the goodness of his heart or because he's super caring, right? He just wants to learn how to read and write. Maybe in another setting he's caring, but we can't say that he's caring here. Okay. These questions are average hunter difficulty. This was a real hunter test. And someone asked, what does pious mean? Okay. If you don't know a word, all of you are on your computer. Google, define pious, right? I'm not saying that to be mean or anything, but when you look it up yourself, it sticks in your brain. And I would suggest having like a little vocab notebook where if you find words you don't know, you write down the definition. But pious means like virtuous, right? Like you are a moral person. Sometimes it can mean that you are religious as well, but pious means that, yeah, like I would say maybe like you're a good person, you have good virtues. Okay, alrighty. I think that answers all the questions so far. Let's finish this passage up. Douglas compares knowledge to bread because, okay, let's go back to where he does this. That's that last sentence again. This bread I used to bestow upon the hungry little urchins who in return would give me that more valuable bread of knowledge. Okay. All right. So Douglas compares knowledge to bread because knowledge is free while bread is costly. We don't know that, right? It sounds like knowledge can actually be costly in a different way. So I would not choose that. Knowledge and bread are both nourishing. That's very true. In different ways, knowledge and bread are both nourishing. But before we jump to that, let's look through the other answer choices. Knowledge is necessary to make bread. Okay, not relevant, right? A different, yes, knowledge is necessary to make bread, but not the knowledge we're talking about, right? We're talking about reading and writing. Okay, knowledge and bread are both inaccessible. No, right? If anything, these kids do have access to both knowledge and bread. Knowledge is desirable while bread is essential. Okay, also not a great answer. B is the best answer. Knowledge and bread are both nourishing because, let's see here, because, knowledge is taking him out of that mental darkness that he mentions in the passage earlier, right? It's helping him learn this very important life skill, and bread is nourishing those poor children that he's exchanging for knowledge. So that, again, is one of the best answer, or the best answer choice out of all of these. Okay, alrighty. Why is there a timer? Okay, alrighty. Let's move on to the next one because, okay, let's do it. So the next one, again, there's no instructions here, but there is a title, okay? Reading the title is very important because it can kind of tell you, especially for poems, what they're even describing sometimes. So this title is called Experience, okay? So let's begin. This morning, I looked at the map of the day and said to myself, this is the way I will go. Thus shall I range on the roads of achievement. Okay, roads of achievement. The way is so clear, it shall all be a joy on the lines marked out. Okay. And then as I went, came a place that was strange, 'Twas a place not down on the map. And I stumbled and fell and lay in the weeds and looked on the day with rue. Okay, this is a word that we're gonna have to come back to. Alrighty, so the paragraphs in a poem are called stanzas. Okay, so this is stanza one. And stanza one, let's think about the main idea, right? So if the title is experience, right? Map of the day, it doesn't seem like it's a literal map, okay? It's kind of a map of his maybe plans ahead, his path ahead, his goals ahead, right? And the reason I say that is because they talk about roads of achievement, right? So this is going to have to do with plans, goals. Okay, one second, sorry. All right, someone had a timer on and I just had to stop it. Okay, roads of achievement, right? Plans, goals. And so the narrator is saying that at first everything seems so clear, right? But then he comes upon something strange, right? And not everything is as good as it seems, right? He stumbled and fell and lay in the weeds, and I looked on the day with rue, right? So, something unexpected happened, right? It was not in his map of the day. Something unexpected happened. Okay, so again, this is a place where there's a little transition. Okay, let's read the next stanza. This is stanza two. I am learning a little, never to be sure, to be positive only with what is past, and to peer sometimes at things to come, as a wanderer treading the night, when the mazy stars neither point nor beckon, and all of the roads, no road is sure. Okay, all right. So let's break it down. So they're saying to be positive only with what is past and to peer sometimes at the things to come. All right. And of all the roads, no road is sure. Okay. So here they're basically saying the only thing that you can be positive of, so let's write this down. Only thing you can be positive of is the past, right? It says that in line 10. But when you think of the future, okay, for the future, no road is sure, okay? So the future is unclear. No road is sure. Okay. So that's what that's talking about. Okay, one second. All right, great. So let's look at the last stanza. This is stanza 3. I see those men with maps and talk who tell how to go and where and why. I hear with my ears the words of their mouths as they finger with ease the marks on the maps. Okay. So when they say as they finger with ease the marks on the maps, these guys that the narrator is observing are a little more confident, right? They're just like looking at the map, they're looking at the marks on it with ease, they seem more relaxed. And then it goes on to say, and only as one looks robust, lonely, and querulous, and we can see on the bottom, querulous means complaining in a whining manner, as if he had gone to a country far and made for himself a map. So one of these guys isn't as confident, right? He looks robust, lonely, and querulous, as if he had gone to a country far and made for himself a map. So he had this experience, right? This whole poem is called experience. He had this experience that also makes him unsure. So let's write that down. This one guy had experience that makes him unsure. And then the author says, do I cry to him? I would see your map. I would heed the map you have. Okay. So this guy is saying, maybe don't trust that map, right? Like it looks so great. You know, it seems like there are all these roads of achievement, but actually you can't know the future. I would heed that map that you have. Okay. All right. So this is our poem here. Let's see if we can answer the questions easily with all the things that we talked about right now. Okay. Number 10. When the speaker mentions the map of the day he is referring to. Okay, so I kind of gave you a little bit of what this answer should be when we were talking about it, right? Do we think it's directions to a physical place? No, right? Because he's talking about experience. That's the title, like I said. So this is like the map of experience. Is it the hours on a clock? No, right? This is very far from literal. This is not a literal poem. Um, and then not his religious faith. Nowhere is religion mentioned. Not a guidebook, right? We're talking about experience. So it's really his plans and dreams, right? I was mentioning roads of achievement. I think that's a really good phrase, roads of achievement, right? So his plans and dreams. And also we were talking about the future, right? This is about the future. So plans and dreams make sense. Okay. So the answer is E. Then we have 11, the best way to describe the speaker in the first 4 lines of the poem would be. Okay, we're going back there. First 4 lines. Let's use purple. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, first 4 lines. This morning I looked at the map. He's saying, this is the way, this is what the way I'll go. You know, I'll be going on the roads of achievement. The way is so clear. It's a joy. All the lines are marked out, right? So this guy seems pretty, well, let's look at the answer choices before I give it away, right? Very positive. So we're going to be looking for a word that's similarly positive, right? He's not disgruntled, right? We're talking about a positive word. I like confident a lot, right? He thinks this is the way to go before he realizes that maybe it's not. Humorous, no. So not like funny. Responsible, no. Apathetic. Apathetic means, how can I regard it? Everyone look up apathetic. I'm also going to look it up to give you its definition. And it's going to say, yeah, showing no interest, enthusiasm, or concern. Okay, good. All right. So 11 is B, okay? Confident. He's super confident that this is the way to go before his bubble is kind of a little burst later on. Okay, good. Number 12, the change in the speaker in lines 5 to 8 is a result of. Okay, let's look. We're going to go to 5 through 8 because that's what the question is telling us to do. This is 5. This is 8. So it's these lines. And then it says, and then as I went, came a place that was strange, 'twas a place not down on the map, stumbled and fell and lay in the weeds, looked on the day with rue, right? So what did we say? We said, you know, at first everything was super clear, and then something unexpected happened, right? He came on a place that was strange and he didn't think he was going to come upon. So taking this, we're going to go back to the question, and it says, give me one moment. It says here, the change in the speaker in lines 5 through 8 is a result of, no, not a minor injury. He did not literally stumble and fall and lay in the weeds, right? Again, this is an abstract poem. Not a result of great fear, not an unfortunate encounter, but overturn expectations, right? Because this entire time, he's talking about how actually the future is uncertain. And so we might think that it's very clear, but it's not, right? So overturn expectations. Okay. Number 13. As used in line 8, rue means. Okay. Before I even go there, a lot of kids, when I was tutoring this week, were asking me what indifference means. Everyone add indifference to your vocab book. Okay. Indifference means like not caring. Okay. Um, so let's go back to line 8. I stumbled and fell in the weeds and looked on the day with rue. Okay, so rue is going to be a negative word, right? Because something negative is happening to him. Um, and so it's not going to be indifference, right? It's not like he doesn't care. If anything, he really cares about this thing um, that what's it called? That's happening to him, right? So it wouldn't be indifference. Anticipation, he's not anticipating anything, like the event already happened. It's not terror, right? He's not like terrified. So I wouldn't say that. And delight, right? We're thinking the word is a negative one, so it wouldn't be delight. It would be regret, right? And regret would make sense. Like maybe he regrets um, trusting in this map. And so that's why he looks on the day with rue. Okay. When the speaker says that he learns to be positive only with what is past in line 10, he means that, okay, going back to line 10, I'm going to circle it here. I'm learning a little, never to be sure, to be positive only with what is past, and to peer sometimes at the things to come. We talked about this, right? I'm going to make a little star, what we annotated. The only thing you can be positive of is the past, and with the future, you just don't know. That's like the main idea of this passage. So 14, he means that no, the past is not joyful, right? We're talking about certainty. Oh, well, B looks nice. You can't be certain of the future. The present is confusing. No. Time moves too quickly. No, right? That's never mentioned. And obviously, if more than one is wrong, it can't be all of the above. So the answer is B, right? He can't be certain of the future. All right, 15. The men with maps, whom the speaker refers to in line 15 to 18 are. Okay, let's go back. 15 to 18. So 15 to 16, 17, 18, right? So I even highlighted this, right? I said, as they finger with ease the marks on the map, they think they have it all figured out, right? That the marks are really what they say they are. So we're going to go back. And these men, too, were similarly confident to how confident the author was, right? So the best answer would be not foreign, not scholarly, not spiritual, and not patriotic, okay? Self-assured. These guys think the map is what they should believe no matter what, okay? Number 16. When referring to the men with the maps, the speaker says, I hear with my ears the words of their mouths. To emphasize, okay, let's go back. If someone is someone raising their hand, if you're raising your hand, you can put the question in the chat. Okay. So let's go back to line 17. What is it saying? Oh, I hear with my ears the words of their mouths as they finger with ease the marks on their maps. Okay, so if you're just hearing the words, you're not really hearing the meaning of the words. So it's more like, what is it saying? The ears, the words of the mouths. Okay, so I'm going to make a little arrow here. So it's more like listening to the sounds of the words. But not the meanings. Okay. So keeping that in mind, let's go back to the question. And so he's not trying to emphasize how much the men talk, right? That's not it. How inarticulate they are. Inarticulate means like, they're not speaking well. They're not speaking with such a way to get a message across, right? So that's not it. The volume of the speakers. Okay, it's not saying that they're speaking very loudly or very softly. Not the directions they give, right? Because again, this is not a literal poem. It's E, right? How little value he places in their words. He's not getting, there's like no meaning in these words, right? All he can hear are the words themselves and not necessarily what value they have. Okay, so it's going to be E. Someone is saying they don't understand this question. Okay. So this question is asking us to go back to the passage and see what it actually means when the speaker is saying that he hears the words of these men's mouths. Okay. So when you're just hearing words, usually when you listen to someone speak, it's not like you're focusing on their words, right? It's not like you're just trying to get the meaning of what they're telling you so you can respond back. Okay, so if he's just hearing the words of their mouths, like the words that are coming out without necessarily thinking that they have a meaning or some value, um, he's gonna think that there's little value in their words. In addition, aside from the literal meaning, this whole thing is about how he was initially too confident and he could believe his map of experiences, but then he realizes like the future is uncertain and unexpected things come up. Okay. So similar to these men who are speaking, right? They're overly self-assured, they're overly confident. They think that they have it all figured out. But actually, what they're saying is, doesn't have that much substance. There's not a lot of value to what they're saying because in reality, the future is not as sure as these men think it is. Okay. So that is why the answer is E. Okay. All right. Next. 17. The speaker likes the man described in 19 to 21 because the man. All right. We kind of talked about this man in 19 to 21, but let's go back. So that's going to be here, 19 to 21. He has this bad experience, right? He looks robust, lonely. He's like whining. He's querulous. And so it sounds like he had this experience that made him realize that the future is unsure, right? The future is not all rainbows and butterflies. Okay, so I guess he likes the man because he has more meaningful experience, right? He's actually lived out, um, what's going on, and he also had a bad experience, like the narrator. Um, so yeah, it would be A, right? He doesn't feel optimistic. There's nowhere, again, no travel. This is not literal. We don't know if he's strong or outgoing, and we don't know if he's in need of a friend. We just know basically that he had a bad experience. Okay. 18, as used in line 23, heed means, okay. All right, we're gonna go back to line 23. I want you guys to notice how often I'm going back to the passage, okay? You want to get exactly what the passage is telling you. It's not bad to keep on flipping back and forth, okay? 23, heed. Okay. Here, do I cry to him? I would see your map. I would heed that map you have, okay? Be wary of that map. Think of that map, right? You can't take it for face value, okay? So if we know that, one second. Why do people keep on adding timers? Please try not to add timers. Okay, all right. So heed, pay attention to, right? Pay attention to your map. Do not take it for face value. Okay, number 19. Throughout the poem, the speaker learns the importance of, okay, I don't even think I have to go back to this one because we hammered it home so many times, right? Not necessarily friendship and loyalty, not planning carefully for one's future. If anything, that's wrong, right? He's saying the future is unexpected. You can't plan for it, right? You can't plan for it. That's the entire point of this passage, right? And not following directions, because again, it's not a literal map. And because there's more than one wrong, it can't be all of the above. So it's going to be B, right? Facing the unknown and paving one's own way, right? And then number 20, the progression of the poem, is from joy to despair, ignorance to wisdom, indifference to emotion, pessimism to optimism, determination to disbelief. Okay. So again, this one should seem clear, right? in both cases with the narrator and those men who are talking, right? They go from, believing that you can believe the map to realizing that the future is unsure. So they're going to go from ignorance to wisdom. They're going to go from not knowing to knowing the reality of the future. Okay. There's no joy to despair, no indifference to emotion, no pessimism to optimism. If anything, it's more like optimism to pessimism, right? Like thinking everything is rainbow and butterflies and then realizing that, oops, no, it's not. Um, and no determination to disbelief, right? So the answer is going to be B. Alrighty. Okay. We're a little behind. I feel like we should have gotten through like 25 questions, but we will keep going. All right. Let's go to reading passage C. Okay. Reading passage C does not have a title. Okay. So you're just going to have to figure it out as we go along. All right. So Sylvie knows all about birds, does she? The stranger exclaimed. I am making a collection of birds myself. Okay, so we have this stranger making a collection of birds. Okay. Do you cage him up? Asked Mrs. Tilly. Oh no, they're stuffed and preserved, dozens and dozens of them, and I've shot or snared every one myself. Okay, so it sounds like this guy is doing taxidermy. That's what it's called. When you have like dead animals that they stuff so you can put them on display. Okay. And I have shot or snared every one of them myself. Okay. I caught a glimpse of a white heron a few miles from here on Saturday, and I have followed it in this direction. He turned again to look at Sylvia with the hope of discovering that the rare bird was one of her acquaintances. Okay. So now we're thinking of this white heron. Okay. This is going to be kind of the center of our passage. Okay. All right. Sylvia's heart gave a wild beat. She knew that strange white bird. Half a mile from home, at the farther edge of the woods where the land was highest, a great pine tree stood, the last of its generation. The stately head of this old pine towered above them all and made a landmark for sea and shore miles and miles away. Okay, so this tree is ginormous, right? You can see it from the sea and the shore from miles away, and it towers above everyone. Okay, so here we can say very tall tree. Let's say super tall tree. Okay, great. Sylvia knew it well. She had always believed that whoever climbed to the top of it could see the ocean. Now she thought of the tree with a new excitement, for if one climbed it at break of day, could not one see all the world and easily discover from whence the white heron flew and mark the place and find the hidden nest? Okay, so this last part, right? So Sylvia, I guess, knows where these birds are, right? And she wants to find out where this white heron is. So she's thinking that she could climb tree, okay, and see heron nest, okay, to find it. All right. So simple enough, right? And not unclear if she wants to necessarily help this stranger, but this stranger brings up the white bird in the first place. Okay, cool, simple. The short summer night seemed as long as the winter darkness, and when she was afraid the morning would after all come too soon, she stole out of the house and followed the pasture path through the woods, hastening toward the open ground beyond, listening with a sense of comfort and companionship to the drowsy twitter of a half-awakened bird. Okay. So this should tell you that she's leaving early in the morning, right? So she was afraid that the morning would, after all, come too soon. So she's leaving when it's still dark out, right? She steals out of the house, listening with a sense of comfort and companionship to the drowsy twitter of a half-awakened bird. Okay. Alas, if the great wave of human interest which flooded for the first time this dull little life should sweep away the satisfactions of an existence heart to heart with nature and dumb life of the forest. Okay, so this sentence is a little bit hard to understand. Basically, it's saying that she hopes that her interest would not scare the bird away so that she could come heart to heart with this bird and experience the nature and life of the forest, basically. Okay. Luckily, there's not a question that asks you about this, but just so you know. Um, there was the huge tree asleep yet in the paling moonlight, and small and silly Sylvia began with the utmost bravery to mount to the top of it, right? She's going to climb this tree with her bare feet and fingers that pinched and held like birds' claws to the monstrous ladder reaching up, up, almost to the sky itself. Okay, so again, this is a metaphor actually, right? It's comparing this giant tree to a monstrous ladder. The way was harder than she thought. She must reach far and hold fast as she went round and round the tree's great stem, higher and higher up. Okay, so here she's climbing. All right. The old pine must have loved his new dependent. Um, Sylvia's the new dependent, right? She's the one, usually they use the word dependent in taxes, like you all kids are your parents' dependents because you depend on your parent. Well, Sylvia is the new dependent of the tree, right? She is in the tree. More than all the hawks and bats and moths, and even the sweet-voiced thrushes, was the brave beating heart of the solitary gray-eyed child. Okay, so they want you to know that she's brave, she's courageous, right? And the tree stood still and frowned away the winds that June morning while the dawn grew bright in the east. Okay, so now it's starting to become morning, right? The sun is rising. Sylvia's face was like a pale star if one had seen it from the ground when the last thorny bough was past, and she stood trembling and tired. Okay, she stood trembling and tired, but wholly triumphant, high in the treetop. Okay, so she did it, right? Yes, there was the sea with the dawning sun making a golden dazzle over it, and toward that glorious east flew two hawks with slow-moving pinions. Okay, pinions is just something to do with their wings, okay? It says it in the next page, but I'm not even gonna turn it, okay? You on the test should turn it though. How low they looked in the air from that height. Their gray feathers were as soft as moths, and Sylvia felt as if she too could go flying away among the clouds. Okay. Westward, the woodlands and farms reached miles and miles into the distance. Here and there were church steeples and white villages. Truly, it was a vast and awesome world. So she can basically see everything from the treetop, okay? Okay. Sees everything from tree top. Okay, great. Was this wonderful sight and pageant of the world the only reward for having climbed to such a giddy height? Now look down again, Sylvia, where the green marsh is set among the shining birches and dark hemlocks. Look, look. Okay, so here, the author is talking to Sylvia. Okay. Okay. A white spot of him, like a single floating feather, comes up from the dead hemlock and grows larger and rises and comes close at last and goes by the landmark pine with steady sweep of wing and outstretched slender neck and crested head. And wait, wait, the heron has perched on a pine bough not far beyond yours and cries back to his mate on the nest and plumes his feathers for the new day. Okay, so she has spotted the heron. Has spotted the heron. Okay. I don't know what my note. 1 second. I think I think my screen may have frozen. Yep, it did. 1 second. Okay, there we go. She has spotted the heron. A minute later, when a solemn heron goes away, she knows his secret. The wild, light, slender bird floats and wavers and goes back like an arrow presently to his home in the green world beneath. Then Sylvia, well satisfied, makes her perilous way down again, wondering over and over again what the stranger would say to her when she told him how to find his way straight to the heron's nest. Okay, so she figured it out, right? She found out where the heron's nest is. But Sylvia does not speak after all, though Mrs. Tilly fretfully rebukes her, and the young man's kind, appealing eyes are looking straight in her own. He can make them rich with money. He has promised it, and they are poor now. Okay. So she doesn't She doesn't want to tell the stranger, right, where the heron is. Let's keep reading. No, she must keep silence. What is it that suddenly forbids her and makes her dumb? Okay, in this case, dumb doesn't mean like, non-intelligent. It means mute, right? So you might have passages that use this word that way, mute or silent. Okay. Has she been 9 years growing, and now, when the great world for the first time puts out a hand to her, must she thrust it aside for the bird's sake? Okay, the murmur of the pine's green branches is in her ears. She remembers how the white heron came flying through the golden air and how they watched the sea and the morning together. And Sylvia cannot speak. She cannot tell the heron's secret and give its life away. Okay, so summary, right? We have the stranger who looks for birds, kills them, and stuffs them for taxidermy so he can make money. He was going to pay Sylvia and Mrs. Tilly to find out where this bird is. She goes and climbs this tree to find out where the bird makes its nest. She found out. When she goes back to Mrs. Tilly and the stranger, she doesn't want to tell them where the nest is because she does not want to give the heron's life away, right? She doesn't want the heron to die. We also learned that she's 9 years old, right? She's super young, and it sounds like they are poor, right? And their family could have used the money from the white heron, but in the end, she does not say anything. So, keeping this in mind, let's go back to the passage. The narrator describes the tree as great in line 10 because it. Okay, let's go back to line 10. Okay. Half a mile from home, at the farther edge of the woods, where the land was highest, a great pine tree stood, the last of its generation. Okay. All right. So the narrator thinks it's great because it seems young and strong. Okay. This is wrong, right? Because although it may seem strong, it's definitely not young, right? It's the last of its generation. So it's not young, right? It's the oldest one left living. Is a joy to climb. No, right? We didn't even get to the part where she starts climbing it, so we don't know that yet. We're still in the beginning, line 10. Okay. Is close to the heron's nest. Honestly, potentially, right? Because this is Sylvia's goal, right? To get to the nest. Will provide a view of the wider world. Okay, yes, right? That will also help her with her goal. And E is the only tree nearby. Okay, definitely not E. So between C and D, it's so great, right? Because what are its characteristics? It's super tall. It's the only one of its generation. And it will help Sylvia find the nest. Why? Because it will provide a view of the wider world. So the answer is D, right? It'll help her get up there so she can see where the bird lives. Okay, great. 22. As used in line 10, stately means, okay, go back to line 10. All right, we're talking about the great pine tree. The stately head of this old pine towered above them all and made a landmark for sea and shore miles and miles away. Okay. This is a very awe-inspiring tree. It's so tall. You can see everything from it. There's a lot of respect for this tree. It's the oldest one of its generation. We don't know that it's endangered, right? So we can cancel that out. Dignified is a nice word, right? Like this is an awesome, great tree that can provide a view of the wider world. It's not frightening, right? She doesn't describe about how dangerous it is yet. That comes later in the passage, but we're talking about line 10. It's not foreign necessarily, and it's a tree, right? In this case, it's a literal tree. So we're not thinking it's friendly at this point. So it's B, right? It's dignified, it's respected. It's this big tree. The answer is B. Okay. The sentence, and the tree stood still and frowned away the winds that June morning, while the dawn grew bright in the east, shows the readers. Okay. The tree stood still and frowned away the winds that June morning. Okay. So let's go back to 30 and 31. So this is in this paragraph, right? Um, We're talking about how brave the beating heart of Sylvia is, right? She's so brave. The tree stood still and frowned away the winds while the dawn grew bright in the east. Okay, so it kept the winds away, right? Why? Why would it keep the winds away? To protect Sylvia, right? So this doesn't show that show Sylvia's feelings for the tree, right? Um, it shows its protectiveness towards her, right? She's doing this very dangerous climb. And so the tree is big and still. And I think its size and stuff keeps the winds from swaying Sylvia back and forth. So it's protecting her. Has nothing to do with the bird's impressions of Sylvia, right? We never get the perspective of the bird. Um, no political opinions of the hunter and reader sympathy for Sylvia. No, right? It's the tree standing still and frowning away, pushing away, keeping the winds away, protecting Sylvia. Answer is B. Okay. Then we have number 24. The comparison of Sylvia's face to a pale star gives the sense of Sylvia's. Okay, let's look at line 32. Here. Sylvia's face was like a pale star if one had seen it from the ground when the last thorny bough was passed. Okay, so we're looking at her face up from the ground and it looks like a pale star. So if it looks like a pale star, we can assume that it seems like it's very far away, right? Um, so it's going to give us a sense of her distance from the ground because I think it said, um, it literally says if one had seen it from the ground. Okay. So if you're unsure, directly in that sentence is your answer. Okay. All right. Number 25. As Sylvia climbs to the top of the tree, we see Sylvia gain a new perspective on. Okay. So we go back. Where does it talk about that? There's a paragraph, right, that says literally all the things she can see from the tree. Here, it's this one. Okay, and I just want us to go through and list what she's seeing, right? So we see the sea, okay? We see two hawks. We see the woodlands and the farms. We see church steeples. We see white villages. A vast and awesome world. Okay. So let's go back. Okay, we circled the hawks, right? We circled the sea. We circled the woodlands and the villages. And she talks about her place in the world, right? She says, truly, it was a vast and awesome world. Okay, so the answer is E, all of the above, right? Exactly in the passage. Okay, number 26. The description, Sylvia felt as if she too could go flying away among the clouds, tells the reader that. Okay. What? Actually, this was 36, 37. Okay. The gray feathers were as soft as moss, and Sylvia felt if she too could go flying away among the clouds. Okay, truly is a vast and awesome world. All right. Okay. I would take out is drawn to danger, right? Not necessarily drawn to danger. Has always wanted to be a bird. No. Doesn't say that in the passage. It doesn't imply it either. Okay. Feels powerful. I like that, right? She's on top of the world. She too could go flying away among the clouds. Afraid of heights? I don't think so, right? If she were, a 9-year-old who was afraid of heights, I don't think she would be doing this climb, right? They say she's brave and courageous and does not want to hide from people, right? The whole point of going here is to find the heron's nest. So the best answer is C. She feels powerful, okay? And number 27, the narrator directly addresses Sylvia in line 41 in order to, okay. We came across this here, 41. Now look down again, Sylvia, where the green marsh is set among the shining birches and dark hemlock, sorry. Look, look. Okay. So this is a positive sentiment, right? The narrator is not warning of danger. No one's scolding her for her laziness, right? Again, they think she's brave and courageous. Commend her for her bravery. I just said that, right? But let's think about the other answers. Encourage her in her search or convince her to help the hunter. No, right? So in this line, he's not directly commending her for her bravery, right? If anything, the narrator is encouraging her in her search because the narrator is telling her to look over there. Okay? So it's going to be D, right? You may get confused and pick C because we talked about bravery, but again, that's why we go directly to line 41 where they're asking us, okay? Bravery happens earlier. Okay. Number 28. The image of the white heron floating up to perch near Sylvia at the top of the tree helps the reader recognize. Okay, so this one unfortunately does not give us a line number, but let's go back. Right? Heron floating up to perch near Sylvia. Sorry, I'm just looking in the passage. Okay. All right, so it's in this last, I'm going to underline it. It's here. The heron has perched on a pine bough not far from beyond yours and cries back to his mate on the nest and plumes feathers for the new day. Okay, let's look at the next sentence. A minute later, when the solemn heron goes away, she knows his secret. Okay, so she's figured it out. She knows where the nest is. She had this, I guess I'm giving the answer away. Let's look at the answers. We don't think the bird is dangerous, okay? Sylvia has a connection to the bird, right? She finds out its secret. She's able to go up and see the world from this tree. She doesn't recognize that the bird is rare, right? She just knows where it lives now. That the hunter will never reach the bird. No, right? She debates whether she would tell the hunter, okay? And that's later. Sylvia's failure to find the nest. No, right? She finds the nest. B, Sylvia's connection to the bird. Remember how earlier it was saying something about nature to nature, and coming close to nature, being in this tree. This whole passage really is about this connection that she has to nature and to this bird that she finds. Okay. Sylvia will not tell the hunter where the heron's nest is because she wants to protect the bird. You don't even have to go anywhere for this, right? This is just the main thing, right? She does not want to give its life away like we talked about. Number 30, given the main idea of the piece, the phrase that provides the best title would be. I also gave this answer away, right? She feels connected to this bird. She wants to have this heart-to-heart with nature. That's the best answer, right? Let's go through the other answers to make sure there's nothing better. There's no small and silly Sylvia, right? Again, brave, courageous, not small and silly. Stately pine. This is not mainly about the tree, right? This is about her finding this bird. Pageant of the world. No, right? Again, pageant of the world is the tree. And we're not talking, the tree is important, but it's not the main idea of this passage. Reach far and hold fast. Also, I don't know how they come up with these answers sometimes, right? That's not it. We're talking about Sylvia and her connection to nature. Okay, I want to point out that as these questions go along, they follow the passage, right? It's not like the questions tend to jump haphazard over the passage, like the last question is related to the first line in the passage. It goes sequentially the same way. First question is going to be kind of related to the first part of the passage. The middle question will be more related to the middle part of the passage. So you really work through it like that, okay? All right, we have 35 minutes. Let's keep going. All right, okay, this one's a little easier, thankfully. Let's see. Alrighty, okay. You're welcome. Someone said that they always had trouble with the passage and now they feel like it's more clear. So I'm glad. Hang in there, guys. I know. Long going around. Okay. Reading passage D. Okay, this one has a title. Great. It can help direct us to what we should even be thinking about in it. Okay. Um, I am stuck to a kitchen chair. Okay, this guy's stuck. Not literally, hopefully, right? I'm stuck to a kitchen chair and the windows are steaming up as my aunt cooks breakfast. The Chicago Tribune lies on the kitchen table, but I do not touch it. I hear my uncle starting to climb downstairs, coming on his bad leg, one step at a time. Okay, uncle has a bad leg. I am the nephew here to be taken to the dentist. Okay, so he's stuck to the chair. He's just sitting there. He's not touching the newspaper. Um, and so already, I think it sounds like he's scared to go to the dentist. Okay. Others have sat in this chair waiting to be taken to the office, and I sit quietly. I'm 12 years old. Okay, our narrator is 12 years old, knowing nothing of small talk. What would my cousin be saying now? There must be something to say, and my uncle appears. He is a man once tall, now slightly stooped and tilted to his strong side, wearing blue shirt and bow tie, his fine white hair combed straight back and still damp. Okay, so we know the uncle is old, right? He's got fine white hair. We said that he has a bad leg. Okay. He winks at me. I say, "Good morning, uncle." We eat oatmeal. I drink milk. We park a long way from the office and walk. My uncle is careful climbing curbs. Again, got that bad leg. But I know better than to try to help. We enter the uptown building through the drugstore, its aisles still wet and smelling of ammonia. I watch as each one we pass smiles. "Morning, Doc. How you feeling?" They all know him. Okay. So the uncle is well known. People know the uncle. Okay. I stand in the 11th floor hall. My uncle fishes for his keys. Aaron Swartz, a DDS. He's a dentist. And the hall is getting shabby. The doctor is in. That little sign. The office is frosted glass. Remembered terror. Okay, so he's scared, right? Remembered terror. Furniture from some Victorian parlor. My uncle whistling Beethoven, the sound of water. My uncle fills the Uptown National Bank building. Okay, so, you're going to get a question about this later, but um, someone asked if you read two times or once. Just read it once, and then you're going to have to come back anyway for the questions, and that's when you'll read it again. Okay, anyway, my uncle fills the Uptown National Bank building. Is he literally filling the building? No, right? He's a man. Building is big. But his presence, right? His vibes, whatever, his attitude, filling up the building. Everyone knows him. Okay. He stands at the window in the office, whistling. He had his back to me, is drying his hands. I am trapped in the chair and have abandoned hope. Okay, these are some scared words, right? He's trapped in the chair. He's stuck in the chair. He's abandoned hope. My uncle turns. "Well, Kiplinger, let's take a look," as he gives a cigarette to an ashtray. A hand appears out of the corner of my eye. Large, stained with nicotine, is my uncle's hand. Okay, from this, we can infer that we're in the past, right? I hope none of your dentists um, give you a dental cleaning with a nicotine-stained hand. They should be wearing gloves, right? Anyway, it holds something long and silver. I look straight ahead, mouth open, head back. I see the sky blue and mocking me. Here's whistling. Grip the chair, determined to show no feeling. Then there is a flash of hurt. I grip the chair. I'm the stoic among my uncle's patients. I'm a butterfly on a pin. Someone asked, what is nicotine? Nicotine is the one of the chemicals in tobacco. Whenever you smoke, the effect that smoking gives people is from nicotine. Okay, anyway. I endure. I am squeezing the arms of the dentist chair like a stiff, while in the soft plum of my mouth, the drill grinds and grinds. I watch the wires flap, the drill whines and grinds. I wait for it to stop. It will have to stop. I'll give nothing away. It'll stop. I'll show nothing. It'll stop. Water trickles near my ear. My eyes are in the empty sky. I am 12 years old. I am my uncle's favorite nephew. I will not be a disappointment. Okay, so I guess that's where the title comes from, right? So just to summarize, let's see. Someone is asking, shouldn't we highlight on the butterfly and a pin part? Yeah, you can. That's like a good metaphor. I think the part that we will end up highlighting, the stoic, right? I'm stoic among my uncle's patients. I'm a butterfly on a pin. Okay. Alrighty. So main idea, right? What is going on? This kid needs to go to the dentist. The dentist is his uncle. He is terrified of this experience. There's some pain, there's a flash of hurt. And so is he making a big deal about this? Is he screaming out in pain? No, right? Why not? He wants to be stoic. Okay. Maybe you guys can figure out what stoic means based on what I'm saying. He wants to be stoic. He is saying he is determined to show no feeling. And why doesn't he want to show any feeling? Because he is his uncle's favorite nephew. He does not want to be a disappointment. He does not want his uncle to know that he's in pain. Okay. So that's basically the entire thing with this passage. So keeping that in mind, let's go. All right, number 31. The speaker does not touch his aunt and uncle's copy of the Chicago Tribune newspaper because, okay, all right. That's in that first stanza here. And we talked about this, right? He feels stuck to a kitchen chair. Windows are steaming up. The Tribune lies on the kitchen table, but I do not touch it. Okay. Would you say that he's having a great time? Probably not, right? He's anticipating going to the dentist, which he doesn't like. So let's look at the choices. Not that he doesn't know how to read. He's not busy drinking milk. It doesn't say that anywhere. They are late to get to the dentist. Nope, doesn't say that anywhere. If anything, the uncle is the dentist. The uncle's in charge of that, right? He feels uncomfortable. He is talking to his aunt. He's not talking to his aunt, right? He feels uncomfortable. He feels stuck to that chair, and he does not want to touch the newspaper, right? He's anticipating the dentist. He's uncomfortable. Okay. 32. In stanzas 2 and 3, the uncle is depicted as. Okay, so let's look at 2 and 3. So that's these guys. Stanza 2, stanza 3. Okay, let's circle some word that would tell us some things about the uncle. He's a man once tall, okay? Wearing blue shirt and white bow tie, fine white hair. So we know that he's aging. That's one of the answer choices, right? Comb straight back and still damp. He winks at me. Okay. He's winking at his grandson, right? Or not grandson, Jesus, his nephew. So I would say he is friendly, right? He's nice to this kid. He's nice to his nephew, but the nephew's just scared, right? So aging, friendly. Let's see. We park a long way from the office and walk, climbing curbs. Morning, Doc. How are you feeling? The fact that they're calling him Doc makes him sound professional. That's also one of the answer choices. And left is proud, right? The reason I would say he's proud because the author says he knows better than to try to help him climb up the stairs, right? So this makes it sound or implies that maybe in the past he's tried to help, but the uncle was like, no, don't help me, right? He's a proud individual. He also once stood tall, right? So in this case, oh yeah, someone gave me a great point in the chat. You can also say he's professional because he's wearing a tie and has combed hair. Actually, I kind of even like that better. Thank you. Good job. All right, comb straight back and still damp. Awesome. Okay, so I would say this answer is E, all of the above. Okay. All right, he's all these things. Okay. In stanza 4, the speaker reveals his. Okay, let's go back to stanza 4. So that was stanza 2, 3. Okay, stanza 4. All right. So now here's where we have this really important word, right? Remembered terror. Does this stanza reveal anything else? Not really, right? It's just describing things. But we do know now we know he's afraid. Excuse me. So let's go back. The speaker reveals his concern that the office is old. No, right? It's just old. The speaker doesn't really care, right? This whole thing is about how he's afraid to go to the dentist. So that would already be B. But let's just make sure the other answers are not right. Pride that his uncle is a dentist. He doesn't mention anywhere that he's proud of his uncle or that he has this sense of pride that he's a dentist. If anything, the uncle himself is just proud. But anyway, not B. Nowhere, we're not talking about classical music. If anything, the uncle likes the classical music, not the speaker, because they mentioned Beethoven. Enjoyment of old-fashioned things. No, right? Again, this is about being scared to go to the dentist. Number 34. When the speaker says that his uncle fills the building, he means that, okay, we talked about this a little, right? Like the uncle is probably at best like a 6-foot man, right? He's not going to fill like a 1,000-foot building. He's a big presence, right? He's professional, he's friendly, he's proud, everyone knows him, so he has a big presence. Okay? All right, number 35. As the poem continues, the speaker views his uncle more and more as, okay, so let's go and continue after stanza 4. So first we see this word terror, right? We know he's afraid. Let's continue. Then the author starts to go into this whole thing about he feels trapped in the chair. He's abandoned hope, right? So let's put a star here. Um, as he keeps going, he grips the chair, show no feeling. He's gripping the chair again. Remember, when you see something is repeating, so repetition equals emphasis. That means the author really wants you to consider this. So what is gripping the chair showing you? He's scared, right? He's getting even more scared. Now he's abandoned hope. He's continuing to grip the chair. Then he's squeezing the arms like a stiff, okay? He's squeezing them because he's just so scared. So many stars. Let me erase this one at the end. So what is this telling us? As the passage goes on, the speaker thinks the uncle is more and more scary, right? He's just, oh God, like this man is putting the silver instrument in my mouth. There's a flash of hurt, blah, 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 right? He thinks he's more and more scary. Okay, now number 36. When the speaker says he is the stoic among his uncle's patients, line 49, he means that okay, a lot of you are sending me questions. What does stoic mean? So let's go to 49. This is 50, so it's going to be the line before. I'm the stoic among my uncle's patients. Whenever you don't know, it's good to look at the lines before and the lines after. So let's look at the lines before. I grip the chair, but before that, he says, I see the sky blue and mocking me. Here's whistling. Grip the chair, determined to show no feeling. Okay? So if he's determined to show no feeling, he is stoic, right? He's the stoic. He's the only one of the uncle's patients who's not going to let him know that he's in pain. Okay? So that's what that means. Stoic is like you're not betraying an expression that can let someone know how you're feeling. Okay? So that's going to be he means that he let's see, does not complain to his uncle. Okay? He is the stoic. He's not going to let his uncle know that he's in any pain. He's not complaining to his uncle about the pain because he doesn't want to be a disappointment, right? Okay. Yes, someone also said to find what a word means, you can also use the plug and answer choices strategy. Yep, that's definitely appropriate. But here in this question, they're giving you like phrases. So for that, you wouldn't be able to plug in. All right, for the next question, though, you can plug in. The speaker describes his mouth as a soft plum to suggest that it is. Okay, let's go back to 53. So this is 55, 53 is this one. I'm squeezing the arms of the dentist chair like a stiff, while in the soft plum of my mouth, the drill grinds and grinds. So grinding is implying that two hard things are like rubbing against each other, right? whereas you have like a soft plum of a mouth, like it's very sensitive, it's very soft. So there's a contrast between the hard grinding of the drill and the soft plum of the mouth. So it's suggesting that it's vulnerable, right? You know, that hard grinding, the soft mouth, he feels vulnerable in that chair, right? And so the soft plum suggests vulnerability, right? Nothing about color comes up, nothing about brittle. Brittle means that like it breaks easily, but I don't think a plum even is something that breaks easily necessarily, right? So that's a bad word. And then rotten, yeah. Okay. All right, 38. In lines 55 to 57, the speaker reveals how okay, let's go back. All right, I watch the wires flap, the drill whines and grinds. I wait for it to stop. It will have to stop. I'll give nothing away. It'll stop. I'll show nothing. It'll stop. Okay. All right, so what is he doing here? Is he singing to himself? No. He's not. I mean, maybe he's watching his uncle, but no. Maybe his eyes are even closed. I don't remember. No, it doesn't say his eyes are closed. His eyes are in the empty sky. Okay, he's looking up, but therefore he's not watching his uncle, right? He's not speaking to his uncle because they're working in his mouth. It has nothing to do about how he's going to advise to his younger cousins, right? He's trying to prove himself to his uncle that he's the stoic person who shows no feeling, okay? And he's not complaining. All right, so 38 is E. 39, at the end of the poem, the speaker feels indifferent, embarrassed, disappointed, relieved. Let's go to the end. We're determined. Okay, I think already we know the answer, right? He says, I am my uncle's favorite nephew. I will not be a disappointment, right? He's determined to be very stoic and not be a disappointment. So the answer is E. Okay. All right, we're almost at the end, guys. We have one more passage. Oh God, this is a long one. So let's get through it pretty quickly so we have time to go over the answers. Okay. All right, again, no title. Nothing to help us in the beginning here. Okay. While the freight train was puffing slowly across the winter country, leaving a black trail suspended in the still air, Claude went over that experience minutely in his mind, as if he feared to lose something of it on approaching home. He could remember exactly how Miss Ehrlich and the boys had looked to him on that first night, could repeat almost word for word the conversation which had been so novel to him. Okay, so this conversation that he had on this first night with Miss Ehrlich and the boys is important to him. Okay, cool. Then he had supposed the Ehrlichs were rich people, but he found out afterwards that they were poor. Okay. The father was dead and all the boys had to work, even those who were still in school. They merely knew how to live, he discovered, and spent their money on themselves instead of on machines to do the work and machines to entertain people. Okay, so the Ehrlichs are not a fan of machines. They don't want machines entertaining them. They don't want machines doing the work. Okay, so no machines. All right. Machines, Claude decided, could not make pleasure whatever else they could do. They could not make agreeable people either. Insofar as he could see, the latter were made by judicious indulgence in almost everything he had been taught to shun. Okay, so what does this mean? So the latter, if you don't know what latter means like the second of two things that are listed, right? There's the former and the latter. So the latter is referring to agreeable people. So agreeable people were made by indulging in things that he grew up to avoid. Okay. So let's write that down. Agreeable people, indulged. So that means add indulge to your list, right? To your vocab list. Agreeable people indulged or like took part in, indulged in things he was taught to avoid. Okay. So already you're gonna see some sort of shift, maybe like Claude is observing this family who does things differently from how his family or how he was grown up to do things. Okay. Since that first visit, he had gone to the Ehrlichs not as often as he wished, certainly, but as often as he dared. Some of the university boys seemed to drop in there whenever they felt like it, were almost members of the family, but they were better looking than he and better company. To be sure, Long Baumgartner was an intimate of the house, and he was a gawky boy with big red hands and patched shoes. But he could at least speak German to the mother, and he played the piano and seemed to know a great deal about music. Okay, so here looks like this is a popular place for people who don't even live there necessarily, right? People kind of just stop in. Okay, people stop in. This was normal. All right. Claude didn't wish to be a bore. Sometimes in the evening, when he left the library to smoke a cigar, he walked slowly past the Ehrlich's house, looking at the lighted windows of the sitting room and wondering what was going on inside. Okay, so let's highlight he didn't want to be a bore. Before he went there to call, he racked his brain for things to talk about, right? He doesn't want to be boring. He wants to have things to mention. If there had been a football game or a good play at the theater, that helped, of course. Okay, someone asked, what does gawky mean, right? Look it up. What does gawky mean? And tell me in the chat. Okay. Almost without realizing what he was doing, he tried to think things out and to justify his opinions to himself so that he would have something to say when the Ehrlich boys questioned him. Okay, so this kid is trying to think of things to talk about. Okay, he had grown up with the conviction. Okay, yeah, someone said an adjective that means tall and awkward. Good. Yeah, that's what gawky means. Okay, good. Okay, anyway. Where were we? He had grown up with the conviction that it was beneath his dignity to explain himself, just as it was to dress carefully or to be caught taking pains about anything. Okay, so here, he was taught that he shouldn't explain himself, right? Ernest was the only person he knew who tried to state clearly just why he believed this or that, and people thought him very conceited and foreign. So, let's write here, people at home didn't explain themselves, right? Because it was seen as conceited, right? Conceited means like arrogant or full of yourself. It was seen as conceited. All right. So that's how he grew up differently than the Ehrlichs. Okay. People at home thought him very conceited and foreign. Okay. It wasn't American to explain yourself. You didn't have to. On the farm, you said you would or you wouldn't, that Roosevelt was all right or that he was crazy. You weren't supposed to say more unless you were a stump speaker. If you tried to say more, it was because you liked to hear yourself talk. Since you never said anything, you didn't form the habit of thinking. If you got too much bored, you went to town and bought something new. So, it sounds like there's a difference, right? This family, the Ehrlichs, they're German, right? We find out that that kid Baumgartner is speaking German to the mother, and the kid Claude is American, right? And the American way is to, just say something, not explaining it, and that leads to maybe less thinking. Instead of thinking, people went to town and did something and bought something instead. Okay? All right. Next. But all the people he met at the Ehrlichs talked. If they asked him about a play or a book and he said it was no good, they at once demanded why. The Ehrlichs thought him a clam, but Claude sometimes thought himself amazing. Could it really be he who was airing his opinions in this indelicate manner? So when he was talking and explaining himself, he was thinking, oh my gosh, maybe I am amazing. He caught himself using words that had never crossed his lips before, that in his mind were associated only with the printed page. When he suddenly realized that he was using a word for the first time and probably mispronouncing it, he would become as much confused as if he were trying to pass a lead dollar, would blush and stammer and let someone finish his sentence for him. Okay, so he was using words for the first time because it was the first time he was like being allowed to speak. Okay. Claude couldn't resist occasionally dropping in at the Ehrlichs in the afternoon. Then the boys were away, and he could have Miss Ehrlich to himself for a half hour. Okay, so he likes this Miss Ehrlich person. When she talked to him, she taught him so much about life. Okay, so she's important to him. He loved to hear her sing sentimental German songs as she worked. He didn't know why, but he simply adored it. Every time he went away from her, he felt happy and full of kindness. Okay, a positive person in his life. He had been to see Miss Ehrlich just before starting home for the holidays and found her making German Christmas cakes. She took him into the kitchen and explained the almost holy tradition that governed this complicated cookery. Her excitement and seriousness as she beat and stirred were very pretty. Okay, excitement and seriousness, very pretty, Claude thought. She told off on her fingers the many ingredients, but he believed there were things she did not name. The fragrance of old friendships, the glow of early memories, belief in wonder-working rhymes and songs. Surely these were fine things to put into little cakes. The next afternoon, Claude took Mrs. Ehrlich to the football game and came home with the family for dinner. He lingered on day after day, but after the first few evenings, his heart was growing a little heavier all the time. The Ehrlich boys had so many new interests, he couldn't keep up with them. They had been going on, and he had been standing still. Okay, so he feels like they're moving forward, but he's kind of stuck in the same position. He wasn't conceited enough to mind that. The thing that hurt was the feeling of being out of it. Okay, so he feels like an outsider, of being lost in another kind of life in which ideas played but little part. He's referring to his own life, right? His life, his family is farmers. They don't talk about things. They don't have conversation. Their ideas don't come forward. Okay, he was a stranger who walked in and sat down here, but he belonged out in the big, lonely country where people worked hard with their backs and got tired like the horses and were too sleepy at night to think of things to say, or sorry, to think of anything to say. So there's a difference, right? Because his family's out working in the fields and they're too tired to come home and just talk, right? So that's why. If Miss Ehrlich, an Hungarian woman, made lentil soup and potato dumplings and Weiner schnitzel for him, it only made the plain fare on the farm seem heavier. Okay. So he's kind of sad, right? That he has to go back to his own life. All right. When the second Friday came round, he went to bid his friends goodbye and explained that he must be going home tomorrow. On leaving the house that night, he looked back at the ruddy windows and told himself that it was goodbye indeed, and not as Mrs. Ehrlich had fondly said, auf Wiedersehen. I definitely pronounced that wrong, so I'm sorry if you are German in this audience. Coming here only made him more discontented with his lot. His frail claim on this kind of life existed no longer. Remember how I said he's kind of sad about his own life? It says here, coming here only made him more discontented with his lot. His frail claim on this kind of life existed no longer. He must settle down into something that was his own, take hold of it with both hands, no matter how grim it was. Okay, so now he's saying, okay, I just have to face my own reality, right? This is what I've been dealt. I'm gonna take hold of it with both hands, no matter how grim, no matter how serious it is. The next day, during his journey out through the bleak winter country, he felt that he was going deeper and deeper into reality. Okay, so now he's left the Miss Ehrlichs. So main ideas. What is happening? We have Claude from a farm country family where they don't talk, they don't explain themselves. They say a statement and then they move on. Mrs. Ehrlich's family is different. They sit and they talk about ideas and explain themselves, okay? Claude likes this. He likes to engage in conversation. Then he realizes he has to leave. He can't visit the Ehrlichs anymore. He becomes sad about his own life. But then at the very end, he realizes that, you know, this is the deal he's been dealt. So he's going to take it in his hands and just move forward. Okay. So let's go through this a little quickly because we have like 6 minutes. Okay. As used in line 5, the word novel means. Okay. Going back to line 5. The boys had looked him on the first night. The boys could repeat almost word for word the conversation which had been so novel to him. Okay. He's never heard conversation like this before. It's new to him because they don't have conversation in his family. So the answer is going to be D, new. Okay. If the Ehrlichs were alive today, they would probably not spend their money on. Okay. What did the Ehrlichs say in the beginning about the machines? Right? They were no machines, right? No machines for pleasure, no machines to entertain them. So of these answer choices, what's a machine that gives pleasure or entertains people? A television, right? So they would not spend their money on a television because, like I said, it's a machine that entertains people. All right. And you can go back to the passage to find that. I'm just going fast now. Okay. Claude's attitude towards Baumgartner could be best described as, okay, this one we definitely have to go back. Okay. It's in the second paragraph. To be sure, Baumgartner was an intimate of the house, and he was a gawky boy with big red hands and patched shoes, but at least he could speak German, he played the piano, he knew about music. Okay. Okay, so actually, before we go there, someone asked, wouldn't theater tickets work better? Okay. Theater tickets are entertainment, right? But who's giving the entertainment? A machine like the televisions or people, right? Theater is usually a play that is put on by people. That's entertainment by people for people. But television is a machine and they're anti-machine, remember? So actually televisions is a better answer than theater tickets. Okay. 42. So the answer is going to be A, judgmental yet envious. And this is because he was describing him, right? He was saying he's like big. Baumgartner was this big, gawky boy. So that was gawky. He's got these red hands. He's like judging his appearance and judging what he can do, right? But he's jealous of him, right? Like he has this experience with music and all that stuff. And so the answer is going to be A. Okay, number 43. When Claude visits the Ehrlichs, he is concerned they will mostly view him as, well, he spends a lot of the passage thinking about what he's going to say, right? So he's always like thinking about conversation topics. And then we get to that part, this paragraph here, where he's like worrying about if he's going to use a word wrong for the first time. So coming from this farm family that doesn't really talk, he's afraid that the Ehrlichs will think that he's unintellectual. Okay. All right. Number 44. In Claude's view, he was raised to be, this one I'm not even going to go back, but you can go back. Modest, right? What's his whole thing in, I think it's in the second paragraph. No, I lied. It's in 1, 2, 3, 4. It's in this paragraph where I'm starting, right? People at home thought Ernest was very conceited and foreign because he was always explaining why he believed something. So conceited again means arrogant. So he was not raised to be like Ernest. He was raised to be modest, right? Humble, and to not speak more than you have to. Okay, 45. At the Ehrlichs home, the Ehrlichs and their guests value discussion, right? That's the whole entire passage is about their conversation and talking about ideas and explaining themselves. Okay, so that should be an easy one. 45 is E. 46. When using a word he has never used before, Claude feels, okay, we have to go back to this one. It says he would blush and stammer and let someone finish his sentence for him. Okay, if he's blushing and stammering, he's self-conscious, right? He's worried about how other people will perceive him. And we talk about that in an earlier question, right? He is concerned that they will view him as unintellectual, as someone who is not very academic or talks a lot, basically. To Claude, Miss Ehrlich's cake represent okay, a lot of positive things, right? So let's go back. He talks about the cake. He says the excitement and seriousness was very pretty, the fragrance of old friendships, the glow of early memories, belief in wonder-working rhymes and songs. So that's going to be a lot of these things, right? Their warmth, the background, right? Because they're German cakes and they're German, the joy of music and poetry, intricacy of baking. So it's going to be all of the above. Okay, we're almost there. In the second to last paragraph, Claude acknowledges that he feels, okay, this is almost word for word, displaced, right? It's, what was it, second to last paragraph? So it's this one. It says they had been going on and he had been standing still. The thing that hurt was the feeling of being out of it. He feels like an outsider. He feels like he doesn't belong. So he is feeling displaced. Okay, by the end of the passage, Claude is realizing that, let's see, he can't live like the Ehrlichs, right? No matter what, his family is just different. There's no way. Okay, so B. All right, a good title for this selection would be Not Across the Winter Country, Not This Delicate Manner, Not Happy and Full of Kindness, Lost in Another Kind of Life, right? He's completely immersed in the Ehrlich's life, but then he realizes he cannot have this life, and he goes home and tries to make the best of what he has. Okay, so that answer is D. Alrighty, everyone. That was the end of this reading. I'm going to be sending out these notes. And I think there will be a recording available as well. I hope...
Hi, I'm in the Zoom.
Oh, there you go. Hello, Francis. Sorry.
I'm here. Say hello, Jacob. Say hi. Hi, everyone. Okay, guys, tell me. Okay, so yeah, so we are going to send the recording and we'll send the notes over. Good. What else? Tell me. Who wants to see? Are we good? Who wants to see the cutest little dog in the world? You want to show the Munchkin? Let's show the Munchkin. Come. Who wants to see a really, really, really ridiculously cute dog? Ready? Munchkin. Hold on, guys. I'm about to show. Wait. Okay, wait. Let me just show. Wait, Michelle, can you turn on the lights? I want to show everyone the cute dog. Everyone's going to see Munchkin. Look at how cute Munchkin is. Woo, show everyone Munchkin. Jacob, show everybody Munchkin. Look. Whoa, Munchkin's so cute. Look at that face. What a cute little dog. Is she on FaceTime or no? Is she on a spotlight?
Yeah, she is. She is.
Oh, look at this face. Look at this face, you little cutie. Look at this cute little face. Who's cute, the baby or dog? Who's cuter? Look at that face, huh? Wait, let's put the dog down. Look at that face. Look at that face. Wait, look at that little face. Look, we're going to show you. We're going to show you a full. Look at this face. Look at that face. Look at everyone so we can chat with everyone. Let's say thank you to the tutor. Say, oh, look at that face. Let's say thank you, guys. Look at that face. I'm telling you, look at this entertainment I give you. Look at this.
Very
Look
cute.
at this face. Look at that face, huh? Munchkin, look at that baby face. Guys, guess how old this new dog is? 10 weeks. Uh-oh. We have a much older dog in the house this time. Come here. Look at that dog. We have a much older dog here. Look at that. Say thank you, everyone. Say good luck on your test. Jacob, say good luck on your test.
Good luck, everyone.
Natalia, everyone, let's say thank you to the tutor. Yes. Ready? Everyone, let's say, no, Jacob, come here. Say thank you. Look at that cute little doggy. Everyone, say thank you. Everyone, let's say, oh, look at all those thank yous. Look at all those thank yous, everybody.
Have a good night.
I'm saving it. Say thank you. Wait, everyone. I want I want everyone to go off mute and we're gonna say thank you on count to 3. Ready? Oh boy. Let's take a moment, ask everyone to unmute. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Everyone
Thank you.
I'm
Thank you.
Thank you. 1. We're gonna do it again. I was distracted.
Thank
Ready?
you. Thank you.
1, 2, 3. Well, I lost my dog.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Wait, I have a different dog, guys. I have more than one dog. Goldie, come here. Come here, Goldie. We have a different dog. Let's give Goldie attention. Goldie, this is the original. This is the OG. Goldie, you're the OG. You're the original. Goldie's 13 years old. Goldie is 13 years old.
Mommy.
Where's my baby doggy? Bring me my dog back. Where's my baby? Goldie is the OG. Goldie looks good for 13. Hey, look at that face. Look at that face. That is a good looking.
You like it?
Right? Goldie, you are a good looking 13, huh? You don't look a day over 7.
That's a nice dog.
What a good-looking dog. You good
What a
sucking
good
dog.
looking guy. What a good looking
All right,
guy.
everybody, ready? Goldie, give us love. Yeah? Check it out.
Bye,
Do you love your love?
Goldie.
Goldie, you don't look a day over 8, 7, 6. I'd
You don't
never
look
say
a day over 1.
I'd say you were 5.5. Okay? All right, everyone. Enjoy. Okay? Antalya, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Say bye. Did we learn something?
Bye.
Yes. Say bye. Bye, Goldie. Look at that face. Look at how young this dog looks for your age. Look at how you look like you look 5.5. Are you 13? Are you 13?
Hey, 13. It's a teenager.
Are you 13? You know what 13 is on a dog? Oh my goodness. When I knew Goldie, she didn't have a single white hair. You're like whitey now. You're not even Goldie. What is this? Look at all those grays. We got to go to the salon. Oh boy, look at this. Look at this. Hmm? All right, everyone. We're off. Okay. Thank you, Antalya.
Okay,
Thank you,
bye. Have a good
everybody.
night.